to install and maintain the Medzmate app, you will need to install Visual Studio and the tools for Apache Cordova. Visual Studio 2015 comes with the tools built in, so just go ahead to the visualstudio.com website and download the free version of Visual Studio. Using the URL provided in the screen, you'll be able to download the Visual Studio 2015 free version with tools for the Apache Cordova. Just click in the download link and the download will appear. I'm gonna cancel it now because I already have installed Visual Studio 2015 Enterprise. But you should download the file and install it. Once the installation is done, you should go back to Visual Studio, open it up, and open the solution you should have already downloaded from the Git repository. To do that, just click the file, open, and navigate to the folder where you have downloaded the solution. In my case, I put it under my document SeniorProject Medzmate app. So if I open the folder, you'll see there is a Medzmate app solution. Open that file and the solution will load into Visual Studio. So you can see in the right hand, my solution is loaded and you'll see a bunch of folders and files. So you only care about the files inside the www folder. Those are the files that you will need to modify in order to maintain or modify the Medzmate application. The other three folders are stuff pre-installed by Visual Studio that is only going to be used by Apache Cordova. So everything you need is inside of the www folder. Inside the www folder, you will find the CSS folder, image folder, and a script folder. In the CSS, you'll have the style of every page in your app. The image is self-explanatory. Every image in the app is there. In the script folder, you'll have all your JavaScript files. These are the files that control all the functions inside the application. In the root of the www folder, you have your HTML files. In order to modify any of the files, just double-click on them and they will open in the editor. Let's say I want to modify the index file, I just double-click on it and voila, I have the index HTML on my screen and I can do whatever I want with it. If you have to modify, if you want to compile the app, just go to the top of the screen and you'll see two drop-downs. The first one is debug and release. They're self-explanatory. If you want to debug your app, select debug. If you want to release, just select release. If you select release, the application will be compiled and sent to the appropriate app store. The second drop-down has a platform selector. In there you can select the operating system targeted by the app. In our case it's Android, but you can select iOS, Windows Phone, or any of the other ones in there. Next to it, you will see an arrow that says device. That means you want to install the application on a device, but you can choose to install it on any emulator. If you want to use the Google Android emulator, you have to install the Android SDK. Otherwise, you can use the Nexus 7, the Nexus or Nexus 5 emulators that come with Visual Studio. Also, in order to be able to deploy the application to other operating systems, you must modify the config.xml. If you double click on it, you'll see a GUI that shows you what you can change. So in common, it's everything that is common for all the operating systems. But if you go to iOS, let's say, you can change specific settings for the iOS operating system, like I want to be an iPhone application or an iPad application, or maybe a universal one that works in both. In our case, we use Android, and these are the settings that we have, so we didn't specify that much. but you can also specify stuff for Windows. And you can also add plugins. Let's say we add a feature that can take a picture of the patient taking the medicine. For that, you will need the camera plugin. In order to add plugins to Cordova, you go to the plugin section, click on the plugin, and then click add, and that will add the plugin. As simple as that. If you want to see what is installed, just click the install tab, and you will see the plugins we have already working in our application. In order to communicate with the station, a login service must be running in the station. We call it login service in this folder, but in reality is the app service. So if you go to the Medzmate repository, you'll see a station login service folder, and inside you'll find the app.js file. The app.js file contains the services running on the station. To edit them, just open any text editor like Notepad++ and drag and drop it there. Once you do that, you'll see all the services and functions of this service that are currently running in the station. In here you can modify to maintain or add new features to these services. For this service to run, you need to have Node.js installed in the Pi, and you also need to run this file, which should be copied to the Pi, and I'm going to show you how to do that. First, we need to install Node on the Raspberry Pi. To do that, we can follow this tutorial that can be found in johnsondesign.com. Here's the URL. So first, we need to update the operating system to make sure we have latest before we install Node. To do that, use this command. Also, I'll show you that. If you type node --version, you will check if Node isn't already installed in this Pi. If I do that, you'll see I have version 4.0. You might have a different version depending on when you are using this tutorial. But if you don't have it, then you should get Node to install. To do that, you need to do all the following commands. I'm gonna give you a second. You can pause this video to actually check on those commands. Now that we have Node.js installed in the Raspberry Pi, let's go ahead and copy the service file into the Pi. To do that, we need an FTP client. In my case, I'm using FileZilla, but you can use the one of your choice. So in order to do that, I'm gonna connect to the FTP using the IP address of the Raspberry Pi. As you can see, I'm now inside the Pi, and in there we should have a folder called Medzmate Station. Inside Medzmate Station, all the files of the station are gonna reside. In a few minutes, you'll see all the other files we need to transfer here. But for now, let's focus on the app.js. As you can see, it's already here. This is my directory in the computer where I have that app.js, and I just need to transfer it there. Just by right-clicking it, it says upload. It will upload here. So I already have it. I'm not gonna do that. In the Pi, to activate the service, you need to navigate to the Medzmate Station folder. So we're gonna do cd Medzmate Station / represents a space in Linux. So by typing cd Medzmate / station / hitting enter, we are in the directory of the Medzmate station. So if I do ls, you'll see that app.js is present here. So to start running the service, you only need to type node space app.js. Hit enter, and your server is already started. Also, for the Medzmate station to work, the scheduler must be compiled from within the Raspberry Pi. If you go to repository, you'll see there is a folder called Medzmate Station, which inside has all the files pertaining to the scheduler. All these files are C++ files that can be easily edited using any IDE or even a simple text editor. So if you drag and drop this file into the notepad, you'll see you have the code and you can edit it as you wish. But going back to the station, to the installation. So I need to transfer all those files, which I can use the same method using the FTP. I go to the Medzmate station, you see you have all the files. You can select all by simply clicking Ctrl A. And if you come here to the Medzmate station, you're already here. You can do right click, upload, and then all the files will be on the Raspberry Pi. I have already done that, so I'm gonna go ahead and compile here. In order to compile, we have made an easier make file that compiles everything. So if you go to your Pi, you can just type and go to the Medzmate station folder. You can just type make. So, and it will compile your files. This all is up to date. That's why I didn't compile anything now. It's already compiled. Once you compile, the executable file will be inside the Raspberry Pi, and the service will be able to call the scheduler every time a new configuration is uploaded.